So, let's see. While I was pregnant, I um, ended up having a high-risk pregnancy. I was pregnant with Ruby dkfugal. When I had my ultrasounds, it's funny because when we found out Ruby was a little girl, um, it's like I was. It's like when someone's talking to you and you don't mean to talk to them, but you kind of say things out loud when you're thinking them. So she told me that I was going to have Ruby April 16th in 2003. And out of nowhere, I blurted out, "No, I'm not." And she looked at me and she goes, "What?" And I was like, all skittish, and I was like, nothing, never mind. So she continued and she said, "Well, you're going to have your little girl in April." And again, it was kind of weird. And I said, "No, it'll be on the 29th, the 28th or the 29th. And she looked at me funny and she said, "If you have your little girl on the 28th or 29th, that'll be March. And that will be early. That'll be too early." Um, she said, "If you have them after that, then it'll be too late. You know, you won't be going that long." And so I kind of like kept my mouth shut and didn't really realize why it said that. And it's kind of funny. Throughout my life, I've been really particular with dates. I've had really interesting dreams. It kind of talks about it, I think, in my patriarchal blessing. Um, I believe in a lot of the things it talks about in the Bible about special gifts that Heavenly Father gives you. I think one of mine is I kind of see things. Not like I can predict the future or nothing, but just different things. Anyways, back to Ruby. So I ended up going to Grandma's house, my mother's, for Christmas, and I was on bed rest because I had ripped my groin muscle. I ended up going back home, and I was extremely, extremely sick. I was so sick. I don't think I could have ever felt any worse than what I had felt. Um, it was almost as bad as when I ripped my C-section open during my second uh, childbirth. Um, so uh, on I had some weird things happening kind of at my house for like a week and a half. I just had um, some strange feelings and don't really like to talk about it when I'm in my new home now. But it's almost like just something bad and like something wanted something from me. Um, I ended up having a couple of blessings. My husband actually gave me a blessing, and I had been having seizures, which we didn't find out they were seizures until later. I had my dog Summit, who was totally awesome. He never ever get on the bed. He knew better than that. But in the mornings, we would find one or two little dog hairs on my quilt, and it was just weird because I was like, well, the dog hasn't been up here, so we just figured maybe it had been transferred from us onto our bed. Well, come to find out later, he had been getting up on top of my bed and laying across my feet because I was having seizures. December 29th, or actually December 28th, I was to the point where I probably should have gone to the hospital. I lied to your dad, and I told him I was fine. I really wasn't okay. I told him to go ahead and go to work in the morning, and if I needed anything, I would go ahead and call my friend Sammy, have one of the neighbors take me somewhere, or I would call him. He was in the military, so he was getting up at like 3 o'clock in the morning. I got up, helped him iron his uniform. He ended up going to work, and I had you, actually, I ended up coming downstairs, laying on the couch, and I was extremely hot. I felt like my body was on fire. The dog kept wanting to get up and go outside, and he always went out in the back to go to the restroom. And I remember that day, it was like a blizzard. I think it was one of the worst snowstorms we've had for quite some time. If I was to walk out in the snow, it was like up to my knees in my driveway. And that was like after the neighbor had come and like shoveled. It was pretty bad. So the dog wouldn't go to the bathroom, and then he wanted to keep going out the front door. And the funny thing is when we leave the house, we usually would go out the front door, and we would actually, sometimes we'd go out the front, sometimes we'd go out the back, but when we'd come home, we'd always go through the front door. And so he kept wanting to go through the front door, and I just thought it was kind of weird, because Danny would always come through the front door. And finally I was just like, oh, you stupid dang dog, just go lay down. I'm not letting you out anymore. I'm not taking you for a walk. I don't feel good. I laid down on the couch, and then like I just felt like I couldn't get up. He licked my hand, and it was colder than an ice cube. I think colder than anything I have ever felt. So I kind of thought to myself, oh boy, something is really, really wrong. I ended up calling my friend Sammy, and I had felt lightheaded and sick. She came, was really hard to help me get up and walk down my driveway in like 500 feet of snow, or however much it was. And she took me to Davis Hospital. My doctor was not a good doctor. I had a lady named Christine Zolenkov, who was my OB. I suggest anybody who's pregnant and is watching this video, do not go to her, because she was just, for me, she was not a good doctor. But, I mean, she could be different now. She didn't obey the signs that were there. She didn't recognize them, and some of her comments to me were, TRICARE doesn't pay you enough money to really take care of their patients, I guess. So, while I was there, I was contracting. It showed up on this machine, I was contracting, and what do you know? Davis Hospital wanted to send me home again. Well, this time, I was not going to have it. So I flat out told them that they would have to call the security guard to come up and escort me down, and I was not going to get dressed, and I requested to have another doctor. I was told no. Well, I told them I knew my rights. I ended up having my friend Sammy's doctor come in. He noticed that my blood was not clotting, and my everything was just off, and I was having seizures, and my kidneys were failing. He sent me to LDS Hospital. I ended up going to LDS Hospital, and on December 29th, I ended up having my first little girl, Ruby K, at 25 weeks and 1 pound. She was a miracle baby. Beautiful little girl. My next video, I will probably have to do tomorrow, because I have to get to sleep, and I will tell you all about Ruby.